Hi there. Today what we're looking at is lesson 3, and this one is similar in that we are looking at the difference between when you multiply something by something that's a base 10, so in this case what we're looking at here is 100 times 10, and then down here they're changing it, and we're multiplying or we're dividing, but look what they've done. I'm only seeing tens here. And so what we're going to be doing is kind of learning about that process of if the tens disappear and this little tiny number pops up in the right-hand corner, what does that mean then about the number of zeros? So I'm going to start off with what's called an exponent lesson. And this is something that as you're memorizing it, if you need to make yourself a chart to help you remember what's an exponent and what's happening with that. So remember yesterday we were looking at if you multiply something times 10 or by 100 or by 1,000, another zero, or 10,000 or 100,000. And what happens to the values of the numbers when you do that? And so one thing that I kept bringing up was what happens when you multiply something by 1? That it just stays what it is. So like if you multiply Mrs. Chapman by 1, you still have Mrs. Chapman. If you multiply me by 10, however, then it's kind of like it grows because the place value increases by 1 0. And so if we think about this, we go 1 times 1 is 1, but then this 0 means that it's actually changing place value. So I'm going to put it as an example over here if we have the number 2. So if we're going to say all of them times 2, what's happening? This 2 times 1 is 2, and then it moves from the 1's place to the 10's place because this 0 takes the 1's place. Same thing with this, 2 times 1 is 2, but it moves from the 1's place 2 places because of these 2 zeros. This one right here, 2 times 1 is 2, but it moves from the 1's place 3 places. 1, 2, 3 places in value because of those. 2 times 1 is 2, and then it moves from the 1's place 4 place values. It moves over and it gains value because we're multiplying. Same thing with this one. 2 times 1 is 2. How many place values do we have here? Here's the 1's place, the 10's place, the 100's place, the 1,000's place, and the 10,000's place. So the 2, when you multiply it by that, 2 times 1, you keep your 2, but what value does it have? So now when we look at this, if we wanted to say, let's make these zeros go away. This one right here is just simply 10 times 1, right? And it's still 10. So then you say, what power is that? That is just 10 to the first power. It's just 10. Now let's look at this one. This one right here is 10 times 10 gets you 100. So now it's 10 to the second power. This one, if we go 10 times 10, we get 100. And then if you go 10 more than that, you're going to get 1,000, right? Because if you have 100 of something, let's say 100 pennies, and then you say, I have 10 times that. You have 10 of those penny rollers, you've got $10, right? Or in this case, if we've got 10 times 10 is 100, say it's $100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. Or 10 to the 1, 2, 3. 10 to the third power, because the 10 times itself 3 times in that case. This one's going to be very similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, so therefore it must be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. or 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's not enough of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, we had that one at 3. So yeah, 10 to the 4th power. 10 to the 1st power, 2nd power, 3rd power, 4th power. You can guess what this one's going to be, but let's look at it really. How many zeros? How many place values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times itself, 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 10 to the 5th power. And so these right here, this matches this. These, I was just demonstrating what happens to the first, the ones place. So let's take a look at what we're working on today. So write the following in exponential form. So we know that we have 1, 2, 3 place values. So that is going to be 10 to the 3rd power. We know 10 times 10 is the same as 100. And what did you do? You multiplied 10 times itself 2 times. This one, let's count how many zeros, how many place values are taken. There's 5 of them. So in order to get that, we know it's going to be 10 to the 5th power. This one, we know this is the same as 100 is the same as 10 times 10. And then we've got another 10 over here. So it's 10 to the 3rd power. Now let's take a look at what happens if we actually throw some digits in there as to what's happening. I'm going to go for, let's go ahead and keep doing the multiplication ones. Let's try this one because this is complicated. You have a 6 in the ones place. And then think about it. This is a multiply. Think about the thumb. Does that mean with thumb up it's going to gain place value, or thumb down it's going to lose place value? Remember, multiplying what we just did, the numbers got bigger, they got more valuable. So the 6, how many place values is the 6 going to gain? According to this, it's going to gain 3 place values. So we know that we have 6, 0, 7, 2, and that the 6 used to be in the ones place, and it moved 1, 2, 3 place values. So that answer is now true, because if your decimal is here. So the 2 moved from the thousandths place to the ones place. Because what did we do? We multiplied by 10. So we've got 1 times 1, and then we have 3 zeros. So it's 1,000. Remember we talked about that in class. If you multiply something in the thousandths place by 1,000, it lands in the ones place. Now let's take a look at the next multiply. This one's going to gain 4 place values. So in that case, this is going to move 2 place values stand in the ones place, but then it's going to move 2 more after that. So that means we're going to have 2 zeros. 6072, that's gaining 2 place values for your 2. Here's place value 3, here's place value 4. So 1's place, 10's place, 100's place, comma. So that's your answer. Now let's look the other direction. The opposite of that is dividing. So in this case, the 0 right here is going to lose 2 place values. So our decimal will be right after the 3. So it's going to become 53. This one also too is going to, according to this, divide, lose, how many place values? 3. So that means if the decimal's here, this is going to become a decimal place. So is this one. So is this one. So the decimal will end up here in order to make it so that it has lost 3 place values. So 5, 3, 0, 0. That's now the ones place. You can put your decimal there if you want to. The last part of this is looking at some patterns so that you can kind of really see what's happening. We can see in this place right here that this 0 is in the ones place. And then, now, if you have right here, if the 2, if it's moved up 1, it's now in this spot. So it's gaining a place value every time. So if the 2 gains 1 more place value, it's a 2. If the 2 gains another place value, it's 20. If the 2 gains another place value, boom, it's 200. And then it goes one more place value, and it goes to 2,000. Let's go to this one right here. Let's look at D. So we have 440, and then it gains a place. 4400 gains a place. 444, let's give it another place value. 444, let's give it another. Here it had 3 zeros, here's another place value. So you get into your commas, ooh, 4 million. And then 444, remember they hang out together? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 place values it gains. 3 and then a comma, 3 and then a comma. Let's look at this one. So the 9 right now is in the ones place. And then we look over here, it goes from the ones place to the hundreds place. So it's gaining 3 place values. So that means we're multiplying by 1,000, right? Or are we? Are we multiplying by 100? Yeah, because it gained 2 place values. So now if we multiply by 100 again, it gained 2 more place values. Let's take this number and give it 2 more place values. So here's that number. Now let's give it 2 more place values. Let's do it again. 9, 5, and we're going to copy this one. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Give it 2 more place values. But look at right here. This one is the other direction. This one's not going to gain from this. It's going to lose. And we were looking at 2 place values. So the 9 is going to go from the ones place to the tenths, and then to the hundredths place. So 9 is now in the hundredths place, which means there's nothing in the tenths place. All right, so here is, for tonight, what I would like for you to do. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and break these ones down. Do number 1. And this one, it's 2 parts. Do you see how there's 2 blanks here? The first one is saying that you're going to write it with an exponent. So it's going to be 10 to the something power. And then after that, you're going to show how many times you're multiplying 10 times itself in order to get there. See you tomorrow.